perspective. Now, Caitlin Clark has suggested that everybody need to lock themselves in a room until they come up with an agreement, literally like first graders in here. Somebody said, today we find out the WNBA season will not happen. Keep doing the great work, Annie. That is the truth. And as of right now, Caitlin Clark did open up about several things. Now, she did speak very briefly yesterday during FIBA.
Look at that body language. Caitlin Clark just got off a plane in Puerto Rico for Team USA qualifiers, and instead of talking basketball, she's being asked about a labor dispute that could cancel her sophomore season. That uncomfortable pause before she answers, that's the reality of what's happening right now in the WNBA. Because while she's trying to focus on representing her country, back home the league and players union are locked in a room with one mission: get a deal done today or the season gets delayed.
Guys, it's your boy John the Liquidator coming back with breaking news hot off the press. So it looked like WNBA owners is sick of playing the games. They're sick of it all. They're trying to get a contract signed today is the day. Annie Constable just went to her social media account about 10 minutes ago and let it be known that a meeting between the WNBA and the WBPA, including players, is scheduled for later today.
Here's where we are. February 23rd. The WNBA set March 10th as their target date for getting this collective bargaining agreement finalized. That deadline passed 3 days ago, and according to Shams Charania, who broke this story about 10 minutes before this video was recorded, both sides are meeting today with the understanding that if they don't reach an agreement, the season will be impacted. Not might be impacted, will be impacted. Now, what's fascinating here is what we're not hearing. For weeks, details of these negotiations have been leaking everywhere. Player demands, owner counteroffers, specific salary figures. It's been a constant drip of information to the media, but for the last 72 hours, radio silence. ESPN's Kendra Andrews, who's been all over the story, admitted on air yesterday that she hasn't received any leaks about the most recent proposals from either side. When the insiders go quiet, that tells you something. The owners have apparently made it clear, no more negotiating through the media. You want to talk? Talk at the table. You want a deal? Sign today.
And for this stuff to be televised is like a big thing for FIBA basketball. Caitlin Clark is going to move the needle. There are going to be a lot of views. This might be the most watched women's basketball game probably since the season opener. This is just my theory. Since the season opener for the Indiana Fever versus the Chicago Sky last year. That's how many views I think. I think this game is going to be highly anticipated.
And this is what makes the timing so brutal for someone like Caitlin Clark. She hasn't played competitive basketball in 8 months. The last time she was on a court that mattered was that playoff loss to Connecticut back in September. Now she's finally getting back out there, representing Team USA in FIBA qualifiers that nobody normally watches, and the storyline isn't about her return to basketball. It's about whether there will even be a WNBA season for her to return to. These qualifying games in Puerto Rico were supposed to be a footnote. FIBA Americas qualifiers typically get maybe a few thousand viewers on a good day. But because Caitlin Clark is on the roster, this game tomorrow is projected to potentially be the most watched women's basketball game since the Indiana Fever's season opener last year against Chicago. That's the Caitlin Clark effect. She makes everything she touches must-see television. Except right now, the league she plays for might not have a season to televise.
Caitlin Clark has not played basketball in a mighty long time. Now, this was Alessa Philippou yesterday. This is what I want to play.
You have been all over this story. Where do things stand right now between the WNBA and the Players Union?
Yeah, Amina, well, the WNBA sent a counter proposal to the Players Union on Saturday. That was a day after the Players Union sent a counter proposal itself to the league on Friday. So you had that back and forth, but right now the ball is technically in the players' court. It's been described to me that those proposals contained some movement, indicating a little bit of progress, but I think it's notable that we actually haven't had leaks from either side so far about the contents of that proposal, perhaps indicating that both sides actually see and understand the seriousness of what this deadline tomorrow could bring. And so while that March 10th date was initially described to me as more of like a target, it does still mean that the league is operating as if they need to get this deal done really sooner rather than later, if not as soon as possible, to ensure the schedule won't be impacted.
You have been all over.
Let's talk about what's actually on the table here, because the details that did leak before the media blackout are significant. The Players Union sent a counterproposal on Friday, March 7th. The league responded with their own counter on Saturday, March 8th. According to sources who spoke to multiple reporters before the information lockdown, both proposals contained what was described as substantial movement. That's diplomatic language for both sides gave up something meaningful. But here's the problem. Substantial movement doesn't mean they're close. It means they're closer than they were. And when you're negotiating a collective bargaining agreement that will govern the league for the next decade, closer isn't good enough. You need done. The core issues haven't changed. Revenue sharing percentages, salary cap structure, free agency rules, maternity benefits, travel accommodations, marketing rights. These are complicated, interconnected issues where giving ground on one affects your position on all the others. You can't just split the difference and call it a day. Every percentage point of revenue sharing represents millions of dollars over the life of the deal. Every restriction on free agency affects competitive balance and player autonomy. These negotiations matter.
Probably almost like butterflies. Like, this is a super cool opportunity. And like, if you didn't feel that way, you probably don't really care enough about it. Like, that's how I feel about it for myself. Like, this is a different stage. Like, you're not going to come out here and be the star player. That's not how it's going to be for USA basketball. Like, you're going to find a way to help the team win. You're going to find a way to compete to the best of your ability. But I think for myself, like, there's certainly a level of, I don't want to call it nerves, but excitement and joy. And I mean, I haven't played basketball in 8 months either. So getting to do it at this level for my first time back, like, there's no better way. Like, get tossed out into the fire and figure it out. But I felt really good through practice, so more than anything, just really excited. But I know day of the game, I'm going to be hyped up and probably a little anxious. But
And here's Caitlin again, trying to stay diplomatic while clearly knowing this is hanging over everything. She's talking about butterflies and excitement for Team USA, but listen to what she's not saying. She's not talking about fever training camp. She's not discussing her goals for the upcoming WNBA season. She's not mentioning any plans beyond these qualifiers. Because how can she? Nobody knows if there will be a season to plan for. This is what a labor dispute does to a league that's finally gaining momentum. Last season was transformative for the WNBA. Attendance records shattered. Television ratings doubled and tripled. Merchandise sales exploded. The Caitlin Clark effect, combined with Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, the entire rookie class, it created mainstream attention the league had been chasing for decades. And now, at the exact moment when the WNBA should be capitalizing on that momentum, building on that success, expanding that audience, they're stuck in a conference room arguing over contract language.
So that was her pretty much letting us know that she ain't even heard none either. She haven't heard anything about these owners pretty much leaking information. So when ESPN don't hear nothing, that's what let me know this is a very serious situation. If you do not believe this is a very serious situation, something is absolutely wrong with you. I mean, this situation.
The irony is that Caitlin Clark actually suggested this exact approach weeks ago. She said publicly that everyone involved needs to lock themselves in a room and not come out until they have an agreement. Stop posturing for the media. Stop leaking proposals to create public pressure. Just sit down, work through the issues, and get it done. And apparently, that's exactly what's happening today. The question is whether it's happening too late. Because here's what nobody's saying out loud, but everyone understands. If this season gets delayed, it's not just an inconvenience. It's a catastrophe. You've got a television schedule already locked in. Broadcast partners who committed to airing games on specific dates, arenas booked for events, season ticket holders who made plans, sponsors who signed deals based on projected viewership. And most importantly, you've got fans, casual fans who just started paying attention last year, who might decide this league isn't worth their time if it can't even start on schedule.
So it looked like WNBA owners is sick of playing the games. They're sick of it all. They're trying to get a contract signed today. day is the day. Annie Constable just went to her social media account about 10 minutes ago and let it be known that
This is the energy that's been building for weeks. The owners are done playing games. That's not speculation. That's what multiple sources around the league have been saying. The owners feel like they've been negotiating in good faith while the players' union has been using media leaks to create public pressure. Every time the league makes a proposal, details mysteriously appear on social media within hours, framed in a way that makes the owners look cheap or unreasonable. So the owners change tactics. Information lockdown, no more leaks, no more public negotiations. You want to talk? Talk at the table. You want a deal? Here's the deadline, today. And that's where we are right now. As you're watching this video, that meeting is either happening or has already happened. By the time you see this, we might know whether there's going to be a WNBA season starting on time, starting late, or potentially not starting at all until this gets resolved. Here's what makes this situation so frustrating for everyone involved. Both sides actually want the same thing. They want the WNBA to succeed. They want the league to capitalize on last year's momentum. They want to build on the Caitlin Clark effect and turn casual viewers into permanent fans. They want increased revenue, better facilities, more investment, mainstream respect. The players want that. The owners want that. The problem is they disagree on how to split the rewards of that success before it's even happened yet. The players look at last year's ratings and attendance and say, we drove that growth, we deserve a bigger share of the revenue. The owners look at the balance sheets and say, we've been subsidizing this league for decades, we need to see sustained profitability before we commit to revenue sharing percentages that might bankrupt teams. Both positions are understandable. Both sides have legitimate arguments, but understanding each other's position doesn't pay the bills or start the season on time. What's particularly challenging about this negotiation is the uncertainty around future revenue. The WNBA is growing, but it's growing from a small base. Last year was historic, but was it an anomaly driven by one generational talent, or is it the beginning of sustained growth? Nobody knows. The players want to negotiate based on optimistic projections. The owners want to negotiate based on conservative guarantees. That gap between optimism and conservatism represents tens of millions of dollars in disagreement. And then there's the comparison to the NBA, which is both helpful and harmful to these negotiations. Helpful because it provides a template for how a successful basketball league operates. Harmful because the financial realities are completely different. The NBA generates $10 billion in annual revenue. The WNBA generates around $200 million. That's not a criticism, that's just math. You can't structure a collective bargaining agreement for a $200 million league the same way you structure one for a $10 billion league. The percentages don't scale. But here's what should concern everyone, players and owners alike, the cost of not reaching an agreement today. Every day this drags on, you lose momentum. Every day without a resolution, you risk losing casual fans who have other entertainment options. Every day the season gets delayed, you give people permission to forget about the WNBA and focus on something else. That's the real danger here. Not that the league will fold, but that it will miss its moment, because moments like last season don't come around often. You get a perfect storm of talent, timing, and cultural relevance maybe once in a generation. The WNBA had that last year. Caitlin Clark's arrival coincided with increased media coverage, better broadcast deals, and a generation of young fans looking for athletes to support. That's not something you can manufacture or recreate on demand. That's lightning in a bottle. And if you waste that opportunity, arguing over contract language while the season sits in limbo, you might not get another chance. So here's the question that matters. Was today's meeting enough? Did both sides come to the table ready to make the final compromises necessary to get this done? Or are we looking at a delayed season, disappointed fans, and a league that fumbles the biggest opportunity it's ever had? Because make no mistake, this is the biggest opportunity the WNBA has ever had. The attention is here, the viewers are here, the sponsors are here. The only question is whether the league and its players can get out of their own way long enough to capitalize on it. If you were in that room today, what would you prioritize? Would you push for maximum player compensation, even if it risks team profitability? Or would you accept a more conservative deal that ensures league stability? because that's the choice they're making right now. And whatever they decide will determine not just whether the season starts on time, but whether the WNBA can sustain the momentum it built last year, or whether this becomes a cautionary tale about missing your moment. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that subscribe button, and let's see if we have a season to talk about next week.